Welcome back to an episode of Tusk Tradition. Big one this week. It's the LSU game. It's a game on the calendar, the schedule. Everyone circles it, highlight it. Whatever you do, it's this weekend. Definitely before the season started, maybe that highlighter was a little bit bigger, or that circle was circled a few times instead of just once. With the LSU's recent struggles, uncertainty to the head coaching, the media magnitude around this game nationwide might have dropped a little bit. But that changes nothing in the hearts of all the fans in Tuscaloosa, the great state of Alabama, and all the fans down there in Louisiana. So it's going to be a big weekend no matter what LSU is in the polls, which they're not, or who the head coach is. Right now they've promoted Frank Wilson as interim right now. Good job right now to get through the rest of the season. Guy who's been in the program. Kind of tells you a little bit maybe what we can expect to see from LSU this weekend. A lot of people are thinking, are we going to see day one install offense from LSU or in defensive calls? But I think they'll run their normal, how they've been running their as play calls as normal. Look for them to pull everything out. I mean, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at us because this is a game where they are going to play really hard. LSU right now is a 9.5, maybe swing 10.5 point underdog, and it's going to be I think a 4-quarter fight. Alabama's going to have to go take it to them. I'm not buying into any of this. They don't got a coach. They're down in their season. They're thinking it's over. That Tigers' tail is not between their legs right now. So look for a really physical game this weekend. Look for LSU to try anything and everything. And I think they're going to play really hard because of how much I think there was a disdain, an unwanted feeling towards the previous coach. And now that he's gone, I think you might see some better effort, honestly, from the team and how they might now respond to the new interim coach. So we'll see what kind of effort level comes out soon, but I expect a full-on playing with their hair on fire, running out from the tunnel from the first whistle to the quadruple zeros on that clock. So ready for LSU to get going. Now kind of getting into what they can see in the future. Who knows with the coaching route? I don't even know who's going to pick the coach after their apparently AD is not going to have a say in it, and the governor's saying that he's going to get involved. I don't know where they're going with that. So not sure where that's going to be. Everyone's throwing around Nick Saban's name. I don't expect that to happen at all. It would take a blank check that Nick Saban can sign, I think the amount he wants for him to go to LSU. I think he's enjoying where he's at in College game day, getting to sit right next to Pat McAfee. So I don't see him going anywhere. It's going to take something crazy that he just can't say no to go there. But, the media, I guess you want to call this show, the media, we talk about it. It's fun to talk about. But I don't see it happening at all. So all the outside noise right there we kind of just discussed in the first few minutes of today's episode. But that's kind of leave that there. Now we'll get into what's going to happen on the field on Saturday. Early and just quick takeaways, fast ones. It's been LSU, so like I said, expect high effort, high intensities. Each fan base wants to win this game, no matter what's going on previous. Has the same kind of feel like the Iron Bowl does. Look for LSU to try to find an edge. Just so happens that LSU's strengths versus Alabama's strengths, they don't seem to play out in favor of LSU. What I mean by that is Alabama has been a weaker defense when it comes to allowing rushing yards and rushing attempts. On the flip side, LSU's offense, not their strong point, not their bread and butter. That's not what they want to go. They want to have a pass attack. So let's go back to the other side of the ball. The LSU wants to be a pass attack. Let's go to the other side. Alabama's defense. Top 15 defense when it comes to their secondary and defending the pass. So that's what I mean by how they match up necessarily on the offense versus defense. They're not playing to their strengths this weekend. So we're going to be really curious to see how the LSU coaching staff goes about that and how to, see can they get big plays? Are they going to try to, Alabama is going to keep everything in front of them, so we're going to dink and dunk you. Can't go broke taking a profit. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the gameplay rolls out. I expect, like I said, everything's coming out. They've mentioned it in a press conference. So happens their intern coach started talking about their backup quarterback, Burn Jr. So he might get some snaps in some type of formation we haven't seen before. That's kind of what I expect a little bit this Saturday, just to have something like that. That's it's going to give them a better chance to move the ball effectively, score, and ultimately win the game. But also, they're playing for a new coach. He's trying to, I'm sure he wants the job, win the fan base over. He's a guy who's from New Orleans. He's a Louisiana guy. So we'll see. They're going to try everything. That's exciting, all that on the sideline. But now Alabama, we talked a lot about LSU kind of to start this, but now let's get to the other side of Alabama. I know I sound like a broken record, but can we finally run the football against LSU? We've seen a lot of teams do it, through the air. Look at LSU where they struggled this year. They struggled with a quarterback with the passing attack, but a lot of these quarterbacks had a mobile kind of option to their playing style, which no one really seems to talk about it, but that's what Tyson does have. So look for him to be able to exploit that kind of where they've struggled with that in the defense. That's something I would look more so this weekend than what you've seen from him. I think we've seen flashes from him here and there. 2 weeks ago, South Carolina on a big third down, him making a play, getting a first down. That comes to my mind off the top of the hat. But just he scored a touchdown, scrambled out against Georgia. He makes plays when you're not ready for him to make these plays. So look for that to be a really point of emphasis, and let's see if we can finally, make it. It's going to be a 4-quarter game. I still believe that. In that third and fourth quarter, can we finally start to lean on them in the run game? Those guys up front, the guys who have been here, the guys that we're counting on this O-line to be a strength for us going into the season. Can we finally see some movement? We look about the rest of the season with Jam Miller. I think we only have one 100-yard rushing game. I think it was Vanderbilt when he went for 136. So can we finally, see that again? Everyone keeps talking about it. Kalen DeBoer said it at a press conference 2 weeks ago that you haven't seen Bama's best. And I fully believe that. And if we're going to be the team at the end of the year holding the championship up, that has to be true. It has to be true that the nation has not seen Alabama play their best football. Because in order for us to be the team that, that we're calling ourselves champions at the end of the year, we're going to have to be able to run the football. I'm not saying we need 250 yards a game run the football, but it has to be a valuable option for us. We saw last week we struggled to run the football at South Carolina, and we put a lot on Ty's shoulder there on that drive to go and score. He answered, and he made a quarterback who's going to want to win the games, championship level, Heisman level, whatever you want to call him. He answered the bell, went down there and scored, and got the 2-point conversion, and ultimately won the football game. So he answered the bell when it needed to be rung. But can we have another avenue where that's not required all the time? Can we have another avenue where we can run the football a little bit and really start to put pressure on the defense to come up a little bit? Because when the defense comes up a little bit, the OC can take some shots. And, you think about this Alabama offense we've seen this year being a very explosive team, but the analytics don't show that. They're about 50% on completions on passes that are 20 yards and more. And that's really, surprising when you break down the playmakers we have out there. You have Jeremy, you have Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, Brooks, all these people that, you think are those type of guys you can scheme around to make these explosive plays, and Ty's really accurate with the football. So there's not like you can blame it on the quarterback not putting it where it needs to be. So that's something that maybe that has to be unlocked with the run game. So, the run game it's not gonna hurt us to get it going. So if we get the run game going, it might open up some other avenues of the offense that we haven't really seen this year. So back to what I said about the point spread, I think 9.5, 10.5. I think that's going to be kind of what you see. This game can be very similar to Tennessee. The score seemed a little more lopsided than I think it will be this weekend than the Tennessee game did. But imagine, Tennessee was at 10 points kind of in that fourth quarter, hanging in there, playing real hard. I think a lot of the same can happen to LSU. Going to be hanging in there, going to be playing real hard. It's going to be one of those games where, you think about the Tennessee game. Tennessee didn't throw that pick six right before half. Does that game go a different direction? That's a 14-point swing right there. If they get 7 there, and we take away the 7 from the pick six, who knows what happens in the second half? So it might be one of those games again where if we take away, 2, 3, 4 plays, or, is LSU like, we're just right there, 4 plays away. What are they saying Saturday morning? What is Alabama saying if this goes the wrong direction? Were we just 3 plays away? So you never really know. But look for it to be a competitive football game. Both teams are going to be playing hard. I'm going to go ahead. I think this Alabama team, after a bye week, some time to rest. You went through this 5 weeks of just a gauntlet in the SEC. You capped it off with a really tough road game against South Carolina. And then the 4 before that were all ranked SEC opponents. Never been done before in the SEC. So look for this bye week to come at a perfect time. Look for this Alabama team to come fresh. We've seen Kalen DeBoer get the team after a bye week going energized. Think about Georgia this year. Think about Georgia last year. So I think the bye week came at a great time. I think Alabama fully utilized it, and I think that is going to reflect with the score. I got Alabama, if you're interested in that, I got Alabama covering that 10-point kind of margin. I got it 32-21. I think we're going to be able to score, but I think it's going to be close, and I think you might be one of those one-possession games where we get the ball back in the fourth quarter and we ask Ty to go score to put the game away. Can we put the game away with running the football? I think back to, I believe it was 2015, where in the second half it was kind of like what I'm talking about, and Alabama went on this 8+, 9+ minute drive to really just end the game versus LSU by running the football. Now, it helped we had Derrick Henry back then, but that doesn't take away from what I'm getting at. I know we don't have Derrick Henry back there, but that's kind of what I'm looking for on if that position, makes itself evident on Saturday. Can we put the game away by running the football? So that's my score prediction. I think Alabama's going to be able to have success throwing the football. I think just the way it plays out with LSU's strengths versus Alabama's strengths, Alabama has the edge on that, and I think that will prove itself to be the reason that Alabama comes victorious on Saturday. And another win will keep this train moving, keep it going into Oklahoma next week. But before we get to that, we got to handle this game on Saturday and get this Tide win. So appreciate you watching, and I'll be at the game this weekend, so that'll be really fun. I'll try to, me and my girlfriend are going, so we'll try to, I think next day, do a fun little recap of that game together, get to experience it in person. So that's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a great weekend for the Tide, hopefully a big win. So see you in the next episode, and Roll Tide.